Welcome to the Garage Sports Channel. I am Joe, and this is the Race Recap. American ski racing analysis from an American guy. This week we are going to be talking about these Sölden World Cups, both the men and the women. On the ladies' side, it was a fantastic ski race. The surface was exceptional, and the American girls skied really, really well. AJ Hurt was fantastic second run. It was really nice to see an American who, I don't know how many second runs she's made, it's not too many, but an American who just squeaks it in probably a nerve-wracking race in an unprecedented situation, and actually fires a good run down second run rather than just freaking out and having a bad run. She went out, she was confident, she was solid, she did a totally awesome job. I am really looking forward to seeing what she does the rest of the year. Paula Moltzen had what I thought was a great day out there, being that she's better in the slalom than the GS. However, her GS is on par. As she proved in that parallel event last year, she can mix it up with the big girls. Interesting on Paula Moltzen is she was 12th from the bottom of the pitch to the middle of that bottom flat. Now, that little section says that she did a good job on the pitch and was able to carry her speed off of the pitch and onto that flat. That was by far her best split. She was in the late 20s on the rest of the splits, 29th and actually 63rd all the way at the bottom. So her best section was that middle section coming down the pitch. Those were her best turns where she put the most damage on the other girls in the field. Take a look at those turns. I like the way she does them. She's got really strong legs, the way she rolls in, she holds it well, and then is super strong coming across the hill. On the second run, however, she does not so good of a job on the pitch, and that's what really cost her, because that's really her bread and butter, is coming down those steep parts. Nina O'Brien, a fantastic race, really, really good first run. I loved what she did out there. She was strong, she was dynamic, she's super powerful. She can hold a bent ski with the best of them, maybe even better than most. Second run, she comes out of the gate with that little bit further back hip position that she likes to go to sometimes. My message for her is embrace that a little bit. You know, she wants to ski like Bodie. She should be watching a little bit of Bodie and figuring out how he was dynamic in sections with that little bit further back hip position. I think it'll help her a ton. You know, we just watch Nina O'Brien's run right now. You can already tell Nina wanted to be a little more in the back seat here, but this is where I think she should be embracing Bodie. And when she wants to be in the back seat like this, she should just commit to it and go with it, because it was out of the gate. This is where she likes to be. Practice it. Get good at it. That way when you get onto this pitch, it's an easier place to go from where you like to be into where you want to be. Keely Cashman, I did not get to see enough of her run to make a strong judgment. It looks like the damage was already done up top based on her splits. If you're Keely Cashman and you're out there and you're watching this, go back and watch Tina Robnick's first run. She was 30th place after the first run. Tina Robnick comes down pretty well through a little rollover. It's a little bit conservative. Coming over the big pitch, Tina Robnick is sliding every turn from a fairly non-dynamic position. Her hips are pretty high. There's not a lot of high edge angle. She's strong and she's extremely balanced. She's very good. But that's how she's doing it. She just slides her way down the pitch until she makes that one giant error at the bottom. She lets it get away from her 1 gate too early, 2 gates, 3 gates, 4 gates too early. Not sure. I don't have the replay in front of me. But that's what you want to be watching if you're Keely Cashman, because can you beat that run? Can you ski that pitch at that intensity, sliding turns, and make it down that pitch, but control your speed, control your line all the way off that pitch? There's that last little knuckle. It's like a 2 or 3 gate knuckle at the bottom that's a little extra before the run out. And it was especially prevalent this year. Can you control yourself enough coming into that to then keep sliding through that and then go for your big extension, strong, powerful, win it to the finish line turns? Can you hold it down the whole pitch? Tina Robnick almost did and still made the second run. She made up a ton of time going through the finish, so that's a great lesson to all racers out there in how to finish a run. Get yourself in the second run, make some money. But that's what you got to be. As a World Cup athlete, you're looking at a 30th place run and you're saying, I'm better than that. Now, Michaela Schifrin, dynamite. So good, so balanced, so strong, dynamic, smooth. Sick skiing. Super sick skiing. A couple of other notes from the first run before we go on. The Italians had a tough day out there. Bassina going out in the first run was a super bummer. It looked like her pace was there again. She does it without trying. It's amazing. I love her technique. The tough one, her going out, and the Brigioni goes out in the second run. Spectacular Brigioni fashion. I love it. But a tough day for the Italians. Then the other was a Curtoni also goes out. That's a tough one. Alice Robinson is just trying to roll it up and be so rad so often. At some point, she's got to figure out how to blend the two and can't just win all the tracks that are easy and allow her to just roll it up in power turns, which are sick. She has the most rolled up powered turns out there. Boom. Blend it in, girl. You'll find it. Compete with the big girls. Don't just try and beat them. Laragut, my favorite technique on the World Cup. She is back. She is outstanding. Her two knees pulled up, inside knee, almost inside of her hip all the time. Super upright torso and just power tracks everywhere. She reminds me of a go-kart going around a track. Everything's just so stable and close to the ground and awesome. And that was just a good old-fashioned ski race between Michaela and Laragut out there. Michaela coming out on top. There are some great comparisons of Michaela and Laragut out there. I encourage you to go look at them. Now, before we get into too much analysis, we need to talk about the split setup on this hill. In my mind, the split setup was stupid. The first split was after that little knuckle roll at the top. The second split was all the way down at the bottom of the giant pitch, and then the third split was in the middle of the flat at the bottom. So you had this top split, we had that long flat. It would have been nice to have a split at the end of that flat going into that little rollover. Instead, you get the little rollover, and now you have people coming out of that rollover at wildly different speeds. Because some people made a little slide move on their way in, some people made giant mistakes at the bottom, some people made mistakes on the way in, but everyone exits with wildly different speeds, where we would have known how fast they were rolling their skis across the top, and then we wouldn't have seen any time at the bottom. They would have taken that speed around the corner over the big knuckle, which is where the second split should have been, at the top of the big pitch. So we would have known how much speed they carried off of the little rollover through that next section, and then we start the big pitch knowing where they are. Now you have a split that has the tail end of a speed feature or a terrain feature rolling into another giant feature, and then them at the bottom. So you end up with like three little things that happen in one split, where at the most you should have two. So analysis is a little more difficult, but we're doing the best we can with what we've got, because these are the real numbers. Today, I am going to do an analysis comparing Meta Hrovat's second run and Michaela Shiffrin's second run in the ladies' base skiing breakdown.
Base skiing breakdown.
Okay. I've already discussed my issues with the split situation in Sölden. So that being said, I'm still going to break down the comparison of Michaela Shiffrin and Meta Hrovat here, because I want to address a specific point. Now, Shiffrin is first on the run overall, and Hrovat is 8th on the run overall. When I was watching it, however, it stuck out to me that Michaela was 14th in the intermediate between the first split and the second split. So Michaela was 14th after the little knuckle rollover to the bottom of the big pitch. And that really shocked me, because I thought that'd be a section she would just own. Meta Hrovat, who's 8th on the run, was 3rd in that split. So the girl who got 8th on the run, 3rd on that split, from below that knuckle to the bottom of the big pitch, and Michaela Shiffrin, who won the run overall and the ski race, was 14th on that split. Actually, it says here 16th, but I'm pretty sure on the TV it said 14th at the time. Whatever. So, let's break it down. To start with, we are going to go over Michaela's run specifically. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, then figure out some kind of split screen and pull up your Peacock replay of the World Cup and have Michaela's run playing as I'm talking you through this. If you're listening to it, that means I've started a podcast. Now, let's sync up. I'm going to say when Michaela kicks out of the gate, I'm going to talk through her run in terms of base skiing. I'm going to be talking about the moves that she takes to get from turn to turn. All right, Michaela Shiffrin in the gate. Follow along with me. When she kicks out, I will call it. If you have 2 screens going, use them both. And kick. She's on course. All right, gate number 1, gate number 2, gate number 3. She is in a tuck and pumping, tucking, out of the tuck, rolled up, a little slide in, a roll up into the blue, a little slide into the delay, a little jump to a slide into the big one. Now she's rolling up again. The blue's a roll up, red, little feather into a roll, blue, little jump into a little jump switch into that blue, jump switch into the red, big jump switch with a stiff, jump switch, slide, jump switch, little jump switch with a lot of slide, jump switch with a lot of slide, little jump switch with a stiff, jump switch, not a big one, littler jump switch again, jump switch, little jump switch, into the slide. Now rolling it up there, rolling it up through the delay, and now she is rocketing on. Very dynamic, strong pumping. Is full roll, long leg extension. This is pushing for extra power. Long leg extension around the delay, tucking, finish line. Okay, now let's move to Mederhova. Okay, now we have Mederhova in the start, same thing. Follow along with me, get your split screens going so you can see it as I do it. Kick, she is on course. Now, we're not going to go through turn by turn here. Now, Meta is not as aggressive at the start. She's not into her tuck as well. She's doing this thing where she pulls her hand into her chest in her tuck. I think it's terrible. But look at these roll-ups, a lot of extension, risky maneuver into the knuckle, and she's carrying a ton of speed out of here. I think that speed she's carrying right here, I bet she has more miles per hour than Michaela. She's more aggressive through there. These are good rolled up turns. That's her first big stiff on the way in, another big stiff, a lot of speed across the hill. Those are some jump turns with stiff, jump turns with slide. She's rocking and rolling here. This is 6 skiing. Now here comes that last little knuckle where it gets a little steep. She got late, and she had to really hit the bottom of the turn hard there. And I think those turns right there, now she hit the split, and it was super fast to there, but she's already lost her speed. You see when she goes around the delay, it's not as fast. Here, coming across the flats, not as fast. And then she gets into her tuck with the hands pulling in technique, and it really falls apart for her down here. Still, that's an 8th place World Cup run, okay? How many people want an 8th place World Cup run? A lot. Meta beat Michaela from the bottom of that knuckle down to the bottom of the big pitch by 5/10. Half a second she made on Michaela there. The bottom of the knuckle, where she carried a lot of speed, definitely had a lot to do with it. It also had a lot to do with how well she skied the whole pitch. However, at the bottom of the pitch, she gets low pressure for 3 gates. It's that little knuckle right at the bottom before it kind of rolls out, and then you hit the delay. Those turns cost her. The speed she took down the top of that pitch went away. She would have been better off controlling her speed better. That way she could have skied those gates better and had a faster bottom. And that's this week's Base Skiing Breakdown.
Base Skiing Breakdown.
No. Ooh, Alex Tilley. We should talk about Alex Tilley. Good seeing her rip one. That was totally awesome. Before we move on to the men, let's take a minute to hear from today's sponsor, Course Reports.
Have you ever been to a race without a coach? Have you ever said to yourself, I just want a regular course report today? Have you ever been so late for the start you didn't have time for the course report and wish you just had a course report in your pocket you could have listened to on the chairlift? Well, you need course reports, generic course reports from some guy. We have course reports from some of America's top venues, including Sugarloaf's Narrow Gauge, Park City Seabees, and Snowbird's Competition Hill.
All right, guys, coming out of the start, there's good swing on the first pitch, but you carry good speed onto the road, make a good move going over the road, stacks up just slightly going over the breakover, and then you can really attack that pitch. Now watch out for every combination down here on the bottom. They all come at you quick. Make sure you're skiing this thing all the way to the finish line. Let's go.
All course reports are digitally mastered on a cassette tape and can be shipped to you by U.S. mail. Each course report costs $44. That's $22 a run. To order, email joethedad33@gmail.com. Shipping rates apply.
Brett, you hear about this stuff? Dynamite! Moving on to the men, we are going to have to hustle through it because I am up against picking a kid up at daycare. However, I want to talk from the back to the front. So at the end of the first run, I watched all the way through, watched everybody make their attempt to get into the second run. A Couple of standouts to me. Daniel Yule and Tanguy Neff were both really fast at the bottom. Tanguy Neff, I think, was 6th at the last interval. And Daniel Yule was in the top 30 on the last interval. And all race, I've been hearing the announcer talk about the need for a clean roll-up or a clean initiation and kind of hating on anyone who was sliding or stiving. Or I want to look at Daniel Yule and Tanguy Neff because they both proved that they're good at rolling the ski up. They are good at carving a turn. That's how they were fast all the way at the bottom. They came off the pitch, took some speed off the pitch, rolled it up and made speed and made it through the finish line and had really fast bottom splits. Those guys don't need to work on rolling it up. Those guys need to work on sliding the skis on the pitch. And I think that the announcers bias towards wanting to see everything clean and rolled up, he's just not even watching what's really going on up there and what it takes to get down that pitch, which is sliding the top of the turn. Now, he does say you don't want to lose pressure. You want to pressure the ski into the turn. I agree completely. And if he means by lose pressure, you don't want the ski to chatter, I'm on board, because a chatter is a loss of pressure. But what I would argue is that you do lose pressure on the ski in the transition, hence the jump switches that we saw from Michaela, and we're going to see later from Marco Odermatt. The jump switches need to land onto a smooth ski with pressure, but not a lot of pressure. You're not putting pressure in to carve that ski into the top of the turn. You're putting just enough pressure on that thing so you can feather it across the snow, so you can glide it across the snow until you edge set strong and bring it across the fall line and across the course with a strong outside ski, making speed and being clean in the right part of the turn. So looking at those finish split times from those two Swiss people, I don't think they need to work on rolling it up more. I don't think they need to work on more pressure at the top of the turn. I think they need to work on less pressure at the top of the turn and improve their stiff. River Radames was awesome out there today. He skied powerful, he skied strong. How many haters out there right now, whoever said he was too hippie to make it anywhere, are just eating their underwear. It's great to see. I've been rooting for this kid for a long time. I knew that he was going to figure it out. I think this is the race he did figure it out in, and I think he's going to be a podium threat for the rest of the season. It is so awesome to see him skiing well. I don't get the hair. I would love to know what the hair is. Let's try and find out what the hair is. Yeah, can I do that? There we go. We're calling James Takas. We have technical questions.
Hello, Joe. It's
Guys.
AKA
There we go.
Ski Racing Taco reporting live from the field.
Excellent. Now, I heard some interesting stuff about equipment out there. Maybe some athletes not on their original brand. What are you hearing?
Well, from what I can tell you, Joe, ski racing in some regard, especially if you're the bee's knees, is a lot like golf. You might be sponsored by Titleist, but that doesn't mean you can't use a tailor-made driver. And that's a little bit of what we see in the ski racing community right now.
Really? And who are you seeing making these moves?
Well, we all know that in the past, Hirscher has been known to have an orange interior to his atomic boot, which is to say that he may or may not have been skiing on an old Technica at one point or another. That also being said, it is very well known that he used to be on the marker binding program, which they tried to cover up with some black duct tape. Seemed to work out for the general public, not for those who have a keen eye. That, from what I understand, had more to do with using the marker piston plate, and also make note that he was the only one at Atomic who was allowed to do that at the time. Mm-hmm. Now, this past weekend in Sölden, we're seeing something of similar nature. It can't be confirmed what plate he actually has been using.
No, I didn't recognize the plate.
You didn't recognize the plate?
I did not.
Neither did I, and none of my intel could get close enough to understand what that setup was. It did look like a very thin black plate of some sort. The piston plate does have a little bit of jaggedness and a little bit of some pieces to identify with. This one, however, looks flat. Now, to be clear, we're talking about Henrik Kristofferson using marker bindings on a Rosignol setup. So he's on a Rosignol giant slalom ski and boot, which we all know is a lane for those out there who aren't in the know.
No question.
Absolutely. So it's hard to tell because what would make sense is to use the marker for the sake of the marker setup with the plate that if that's the flex he's looking for in the ski. But until we can figure that out, it's really unknown as to why marker is the better fit for him. I can say that in the past there has been verbal confirmation from Henrik noting that he is struggling with his setups in certain types of surfaces. So I'm willing to bet that this does have something to do with that. Now, it would make sense if he was using a custom aluminum plate to have the marker on that. We've seen that before. We know that's popular. Also being used as a Tyrola binding in some instances.
All the guys on marker are on the metal plates.
Right. So we don't really know what plate combination is, and I would really be willing to bet that if we can understand that, then we can understand why the marker.
Here's a thought. What if it's Ted Liggety's old metal plate from the head days?
Was Ted's the black plate?
I don't know. I'm just wildly speculating.
Well, anything under the sun is worth speculating at this time.
It's definitely a marker comp 30. Where'd you go? We lost you.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Hear me now?
I got you back. See, we started talking about this stuff. They don't want people to know about it.
Well, if they didn't want people to know about it, they should have talked to the production company about getting too close to him with filming, because it's pretty wildly obvious.
Instead of jamming up my internet. Do you think that Henrik is possibly a little bit being a little equipment blamey here, and is switching the bindings really what he needs right now?
I can't necessarily speak to that. I think he's probably I know that when he started his career, he wasn't an equipment blamey. In fact, he rarely changed anything. I think he was mostly got miles that stacked up, so he got to know the equipment.
Yeah.
On the other hand, when you get to that top end, it's those Hundies matter even more. So
are we even talking about Hundies with him though? I mean, it was a whole season last year of, per Kristofferson standards, subpar results.
Well, let's not forget when he won big, and he was overcoming really big deficits in slalom to do that. And we will also go back to look at the races. I think he had 3 slalom wins last year, I want to say. When you look back at those wins, they all had certain characteristics about them.
Soft snow.
To set in course conditions that definitely catered to him. Now, that being said, it seems like his setups don't seem to have the same response to firm snow. However, it seems that damper product seems to be working with other athletes on that surface. So you bring up a good point. Is it a Henrik thing, or is it an equipment thing? Because we are seeing that equipment working, but Kristofferson's success on different surfaces is definitely in question.
So I don't know. To me, it seems like he's reaching. Losing you. I've lost you.
You're back to me. I love it. Thanks again.
See ya.
All right.
And that is data from the field from the one and only James Takis of the Peaced Off podcast. For the men's base skiing breakdown, we will be highlighting Roland Leidinger from the first run. This was a surprise to everybody. Bib 19 comes down with the lead. Let's see how he did it. Breakdown, breakdown, breakdown. Breakdown, breakdown, breakdown. Here we go, standing in the start, moving forward, 3, 2, kick, and he is on course. Gate 1, little stumble out of the gate. Then he gets to it. Gate 3, tuck turn. Gate 4, rolled up. 5, roll up, roll up, roll up. Little slide, little slide into the pitch, conservative, little slide going into that one. Look around the delay, jump switch, jump switch, jump switch, little stiv, jump switch into tail slide, little tail slide, big stiv, another stiv, a big jump switch to a stiv, jump switch, big stiv, windshield wiper stiv, big stiv to the right, little stiv to the left, little slide into the blue, little feather into the red, little feather in the blue still. Little rolled it up coming into that red gate. It was rolling it up onto the flat, roll up, getting low, rolling it up, pushing, pumping, faster. There he goes. Here he comes through the finish line. Bam, through the finish line. A lot of jumping and stiving. So there it is. That's how I'm seeing it. Now we look at the sector ranking breakdowns here. In between the first split and the bottom of the pitch. So again, this is after the first knuckle to the bottom. He's 0.5. He's 0.47 out on the run, but then he wins the bottom 2 splits. Coming into or off of that little knuckle roll, he's only 0.07 off the fastest time. Then he gives up 0.5 down that big steep with all those jumps and stivs. But then he's clean, he gets to the delay, starts rolling it up higher up the hill than everybody else, which brings us to a principle of base skiing. He or she that rolls it up the highest up the hill to the bottom wins. I think that's going to do it for the first race recap. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts about my race analysis, don't hesitate to put it in the comments. I would love to hear your feedback and can't wait to see you next time. Brett, that's a wrap! All right, Brett, we are shooting more boat work from the other day. What do you mean we got to shoot more race recap? I didn't talk about Odermatt or the ladies podium, but I already shaved. No, we're not going to do that. No. I already shaved. There's going to be no shot continuity. I don't care if you're up till midnight clipping footage, but I already did the wrap. You're supposed to be the director. So you want to just keep shooting and then pretend like it's the same day? Yeah, they'll never know. There's no way. We're fine. Okay. Nice directing. All right, I love the new lighting, Brett. Looks great. You don't think putting a third camera in is a good idea? Now I'm looking right at you. All right, Marco Odermatt, another fantastic GS race for this young kid. Does the blue bib mean young kid in the race? The announcer didn't go over that. Did you see the little blue icon bib next to, I think it was Alice Robinson and Lucas Braithen? I think that's what that is. I'm not really sure. Marco Odermatt is doing his winning and bringing his speed with a new style that is being called an old classic style, which I could totally see. I mean, he's more upright, long, straighter legs through transition. He comes up a lot more. And then he just extends into those just giant, powerful, long-legged turns. And he's so fast, and he's holding, seems like more G-forces than the other dudes. He just gets there different. He gets there a little, seems like slower than like a River Radimus, who they're calling the new school or new style. I just think that is his style. He works it well. It's a style full of balance. It's a style full of control. I like it a lot. Zan Kranchek is a guy that I love watching. Zan Kranchek has my favorite style, maybe on the men's GS circuit. It's just so dynamic, and the angles are super sharp and severe, and he almost is cocking his hip a little bit in, but he's so dialed in with it, and his legs are so powerful that when he pushes, he just rides through cleanly, sucks him up in, gets that high edge angle, and just rolls with it, and it is sick. And I think when he's rolling, he is just phenomenal. I mean, it shows with how consistently he's on the podium. He's not always the winner, but how much of that is just who he is as a competitor. His style is what keeps him in it each and every race, and when he is on, it is awesome. I think he was injured last year. That's kind of what they alluded to in the broadcast. I don't know. We should ask somebody who does know. Super sick seeing Zan Kranchek on the podium again. The ladies' podium, I would say, is a snapshot of what is going to be the overall competition on the ladies' side this year, which I think is going to be absolutely spectacular. Now that laragut is firing and seems to be firing in GS as well as she was back in her glory days, and as well on the speed circuit, she is just ripping downhills and Super Gs alike. if she can pile up some wins in the speed and fend off Michaela and beat her out and win a bunch of the GSs, that could be your overall champion. Michaela can soak up all the slalom wins and get wins whenever she feels like it. It kind of feels like Michaela's going to need to finally run an entire schedule to keep up with the Laraguts and Petra Vlhova's, because Vlhova's sitting there in third place. That's still your podium. She still scored a lot of points, and Vlhova can beat Michaela straight up in slalom. Doesn't always happen, but she can. And if she powers her way and just stays on it like she did last year, she's also going to be a contender. Now, I think that the overall is really going to come down to what the other girls do throughout the individual events. Like, if Liensberger soaks up a bunch of slalom wins, Michaela's going to have a hard time winning the overall. If Sofia Goija soaks up a bunch of downhill wins, or the other one out there is Esther Ledecky. She's so awesome, the snowboarder. She is a total ripper, and she's getting better and better, and she's going to be winning downhills or going down hard trying. She's fantastic. Love the way she skis. So if Esther Ledecky or Goija soaks up a bunch of Goots speed wins, you know, it's going to come down to who gets hot in the individual discipline to put one of those top girls at a disadvantage. If I were to call it right now, I still say Michaela's got it. She looks strong, she looks solid, and maybe she can still pick and choose what races she does, but I think if Michaela went full pole and raced every single race on the World Cup, it's hers to win. All right, is that everything, Brett? Did we get it all? Did I conclude on Odermatt? I think he's the best. I think right now in GS he is the #1 guy, and Ponro's obviously going to have something to say about it. Can't wait to see that happen. And Filip Zubcic. Bummer of a race for him, but that guy's sick. Love the way he skis. Also, he is the happiest guy when he does well in the World Cup, so I root for him every day. Filip Zubcic, Zan Kranjček, River Radames, Margot Odermatt. Those are your style champions out there. Love what those guys are doing. Can't wait for the parallel event in the city. We'll see if they have the rules that are funny and they're chopping off, only doing one run after 8. If it's that nonsense, we'll see. But I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to watch every race. I'm going to watch every run. And in the meantime, I'm going to watch more ski racing and keep thinking about this stuff. See you out there. If you like this, like, subscribe, hit the bell. I'll be doing these race recaps after every World Cup. So if you want to be on board and follow me through this, then subscribe, like, hit the bell. Let's do this. Keep shredding.